I work for got several different chargers on it. So yeah, one for the grill and one for the blower, one for the still lined up. Dig on it. Well, Bell's not here. Bell's not here. And who Bell? A substitute. Well, Shannon's working on it.
Yes.
They're making it pretty.
Oh, I don't mean that.
So, Denny, would you like to do the? You're up. You're up. Yeah. I got to get it. Okay, I shot. I should. I want my mother. So that time. On the other hand. Thanks. Well, good afternoon.
Good
Would
afternoon.
you join me in prayer? Oh, Holy Creator, thank you for the opportunity to hear from Tom today, to hear about the Dayton Dragons. Maybe we demonstrate professionalism, integrity, and respect in all of our interactions with one another and each person that we encounter today. Help us balance confidence and humility, seriousness and humor, leadership and service as we begin and ultimately complete this day. Amen. So, right, sir, appreciate it. So sorry for that. Yeah, ready for that?
And
Over 60%. Pretty good turnout. See, Brian has a guest. Yeah, Brian, what he's a guest. There you go. Wonderful bride, Karen. There you go. Karen, you didn't remember my name. Where did he have a guest here? Right, Chief Parker. Welcome. Good afternoon. Any special announcements? Well, I got one. If I found that one. They're supposed to be taking the flags down today at 4:00. Somebody decided to do it yesterday. Me and Bob. My bad. So if you plan on going over there today, you can go visit. There's no flags there to take down. Because that's got Bob's plans or Jim's plans on me. And got it all back. Happy much, sir. Nobody's happy, sir. Happy sunshine.
It's all good.
That's all right.
My daughter, she was in Addams Family, and they got nominated for an outstanding musical in the area. And so they do like a Dayton Tonys at the Schuster Center, so she gets to perform on the Schuster stage, which that's next week. So I'm really excited about that. So they're called Movistas, Miami Valley High School Theater Association. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, cool. Oh, yes.
I'll give both kids. They both finished with 4.0, so that's mom is happy. Yeah, well, June and July being a baseball, softball family, but I won't be around much, so I apologize. I know that will surprise Dick, as I'm always here, but we do travel, and hopefully today our daughter gets cleared as she did have two stress fractures in her leg. She'll hopefully heal up, and we're ready to go and start our travels.
So do take your time. Oh, wow, yeah. Had two granddaughters had that at the same time. And I had to take her my little rolling carts, the ones on my knee. And,
Yeah.
we pedal around.
Yeah.
Had two of them down at the same time. They were in trouble. Yep. Stress fracture. So I'd like to give a happy back for so far, Stephen and my wife Beth are alive in Central America. That's a bad husband when your wife will go to Central America, Stephen's around to get away from.
But, so they're scouting out the water project and feedback. They're doing well and enjoying it. I'm gonna say hi to my son.
Yeah.
My kids, wrapped up their first year, I guess, one year, I would say that now since there's a freshman building. They're no longer freshmen, they're going to go on to the high school next year, and they both, just passed their temps. So, yeah.
Oh, well, that's when you start working, right?
It's happy but scary.
I got some happy bucks myself. My grandson's gonna be starting at UCF, University of Central Florida, this fall. On an engineering scholarship.
Right.
He got an academic. He's a smart kid, and he got none of that from me. He's very smart. And he like 4.4, 4.5.
Well, I have my granddaughter is no longer an AP. As she now is going to be a freshman this fall in high school.
Oh, go
Big kid.
anybody else? You ready for
Hello?
anything?
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
And I'm not wondering, it's 145 days to Halloween.
Brandenburg.
I know you. Four. Yeah, 3, 4. You know, I got 2, 3, 4. I got it. Boy, I don't know. I don't know.
Ray. Redraw.
I said that. I said something about how, I don't know. Sorry about that. Senator's Bay, cockroach.
I'm calling his phone and
Lost my train of thought. That train is my say too many times. When I was talking about Halloween, I was asking Tom from the Dragons if they ever planned any Halloween thing there. He said, no, they haven't. So maybe that'll stay on this. Sorry about that, Steve Brown, probably should have. Anyhow. Mike, are you ready to introduce our speakers? Thank you. I'm going to actually stop before he keeps pushing on. Yeah. Yeah.
Tom Nichols hardly needs an introduction. He's been here so many times, he ought to be an honorary member. Tom is the director of media relations in the lead broadcaster, the Dayton Dragons. And he told me a little while ago, he also announced some Miami basketball games over the season. I thought that was pretty cool. Tom landed in Dayton in '08. He is in his 19th season, and he has broadcast 4,500.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
It took me all day to count. Tom, you're.
Thank you. One first, hate to jump in, but sorry. Beth and Steve and a special guest on Zoom. I think it's the Rotary president or the.
It's a Rotaract member who happens to be an attorney that works.
Oh, okay. I knew it was something.
Just shake that one.
On the way your way.
Okay, it's turned on, so,
Yeah, oh,
and then this is the.
yes. Yeah.
We're down and that goes right there.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, hi, everybody.
Hello.
Good to be back here today. This has been an annual stop for me. We have a speakers bureau. We do a lot of speeches every year, and this is one I've always enjoyed coming to each summer. We June the season, so often early in the season, and Mike always sends me that email, and we're happy to be back here and glad the familiar faces out there. And Eric mentioned to me that he is a season ticket holder and attends 3 games out of every 6. Our series are actually 6 games, Tuesday through Sunday. We'll be home for 6, and then we'll go out on the road for 6. Eric, did you say you have the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday games of every week?
Just about. Not all.
Huge, a lot of games. He's been to all 3 games this week. But you're not coming tonight since it's a Friday night?
Yeah.
Okay, we're on TV tonight, so you can watch the game if you'd like. We do televise 15 games over the air in Dayton on the CW channel. Tonight it's one of those 15. I'll be calling the game tonight. Generally, my color commentator is Jack Pohl, the sportsman at Channel 2. Actually, he's now the news man. He moved from sports to news a year or so ago. So tonight I'll have with me, if you're a radio listener, you might know Jeff Stevens from 107.7 Morning Show. He'll be doing the game. Jeff is also the public address announcer for University of Dayton basketball. Has been for like 25 years. He'll be doing the game with me tonight. So you can tune in tonight on the Dayton CW. It's channel 26. If you've got Spectrum Cable, it is channel 13 or 1013, depending on your package. So that's tonight at 7 o'clock. It's a big game for us, by the way. We are playing the Los Angeles Dodgers affiliate this week, and we are the second place team right now in our division. The Dodgers are the first place team. We're 2 games behind them. We've beaten them the last 2 nights to climb from being 4 games out to being 2 games out of first. Now, minor league baseball uses what we call a split season format. Some of you may have heard that before, some of you may not. That means you basically play 2 seasons each summer. You play a 66-game first half season, and the team that wins the division in that half is guaranteed to be in the playoffs in September. And then towards the latter part of June, everyone's record clears back to 0-0 again, and you play a second half season. The winner of the second half also goes to the playoffs. So you can get to the playoffs by winning the first half or the second half. You'd always prefer to win the first half, and you know you're in the playoffs. You can get your team ready to go for the playoffs in September. So we love to win the first half in our division. We've got 18 games to play in the first half, and we're 2 games out of first. So these next 3 games against Great Lakes are big games for us. But aside from that, I'll talk to you about Dragons baseball today and really where we've gotten to and where we are. Again, my name is Tom Nichols. I'm the broadcaster for the Dragons. As Mike mentioned, I've been with the team now for 19 years as the broadcaster. I joined the team in 2008. At that point, I had been in minor league baseball as a broadcaster for 20 years in various places. But I grew up in the Midwest, grew up in Indiana as a big man back in the days of Joe Morgan and Johnny Bench and Pete Rose and Tony Perez, Sparky Anderson. And when the chance came up to come back to the Midwest and join the Dragons, I jumped at that, and I've stayed here now. Again, this is my 19th year with the Dayton Dragons organization as a broadcaster and media relations director. So I hand media requests to come in, and if anybody requests an interview with a player, needs something for news purposes, whether it's TV, newspaper, radio, that's my job with the Dragons as well. We are in our 26th season of Dragons baseball. How many of you have been to at least one Dragons game at some point over those 26 years? Most of you have, just about everyone. How many of you were here when the team came into existence initially? A lot of you were. Okay. Well, you probably wondered when you first heard a minor league baseball team is coming to Dayton, Ohio, Montgomery County. How is that going to work out? They're a Reds farm club. How's that all work? Well, a gentleman has become a very good friend of mine. I just got an email from him this week, in fact. He's a neighbor of mine in Inglewood, which is where I live, and his name is Hal McCoy. He was a longtime writer for the Dayton Daily News, and his job mainly was to cover the Reds. And when got out that minor league baseball was coming to Dayton and they were going to build a team, build a ballpark, Hal wrote an article that said minor league baseball make it in Dayton, Ohio. Why would anybody go to a minor league game when there's a major league team an hour away and there's no parking downtown and minor league baseball just, or not minor league sports in general, just never really made it well in the Dayton area, and all these reasons why it didn't work. And a couple of years ago, after about 23 seasons, Powell wrote a retraction to that article and admitted that he was wrong. And if I see him, he always gets a smile on his face about it because I bring it up to him all the time. How's that story working out that you wrote about the team never going to make it here? And of course, the team has done well in many ways. Several different ways of really measuring how we've done. And one of them would just be how much fun has it been for the community? And I look at our current Dragons roster and I see many future Reds players. And I look at the Reds roster and I see half the team right now is former Dragons. Their most famous players right now would be former Dragons players for the most part. We had a player for 2 seasons, 23 and 24, that I really liked as a player with the Dragons. And he's become a fan favorite this year with the Reds. Sal Stewart is his name. If you're a Reds fan, you've seen Sal this year on the field with the Reds. He's a kind of a hard-nosed, hustling, old-style baseball player. He's actually, I think, got a little bit of Pete Rose in him as far as the way he plays the game, just all out all the time. We had him for 2 years, but he's only one of many with the current Reds team. They've also got Ellie De La Cruz, who was a Dragon, and their catcher, Tyler Stevenson, their outfielder, TJ Friedel, their second baseman, Matt McClain, many of their pitchers, Hunter Green and Andrew Abbott and Tony Santillan and Nick Lodolo. I called all those guys when they were Dayton Dragons players. And over our history, if you go back, we've had so many players who became famous Reds players. The biggest one would be Joey Votto. Joey Votto will be in the Hall of Fame someday. He was, again, a 2-year Dragons player. I actually speak to our team at the beginning of every year, and I give them Joey Votto as an example, because Joey Votto played for the Dragons in 2003 as a 20-year-old kid from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and he really struggled that year. In fact, about halfway through the year, the Reds sent him down a level, and because things were not going well for him, he just wasn't playing very well. And the next year, he came back to the Dragons and was the Joey Votto that he later became in that second season. But it was an example of how the power of perseverance and never giving up on yourself and just keep grinding and keep fighting. Because Joey Votto, that first year as a Dragons player, was one of the worst players in the league. And he now is going to be someday in the Baseball Hall of Fame after a long career with the Reds, where he was a superstar quality player, won the National League Most Valuable Player, is among the all-time Reds leaders in just about every category: home runs, hits, runs scored, all those things. And I talk to each year and I say, if you start out here, and it's a tough step, because minor league baseball is you move up step to step, you're facing better players at each level. The best players move up, the weaker players do not move up. So when you move up from one level to the next, you are facing a higher competition level. It's kind of like school. Some of you talked about your kids who are entering college or finishing college, and when they started college, all of a sudden everybody in the classroom was one of the better students in high school, most likely. And as you go further, it's that way with baseball. And so a lot of these guys, they've never been at a level before where they struggle. And that's part of it too, is learning how to fail, learning how to not give up when things don't go your way. And that's part of baseball, because the draft leagues in the Reds farm system, if you were to look at the climb that a player would make, we are exactly halfway up the ladder between the starting process and the major leagues. And I'll take you through that here in just a minute as we get going through this presentation. Let's take a look.
Let's maybe.
Last game two. Let's go back one. Oh, I'm jumping all over the place. There we go. Okay. Here we go. Okay. I mentioned we've been successful with the Dragons. One of the ways we measure our success really is, do fans come to the games? I mean, that's the one thing we can try to take some pride in and control is, do we put on a quality event that encourages people to season tickets, as Eric has many times, or just one or two games a year, come out and see a game. And this is our all-time sellout streak that is actually still continuing to this day. We had to actually pause the streak for understandable reasons in 2021. We were coming back from COVID, and the law at that time was you were only allowed 30% capacity. So there was literally no way to have a sellout. And we paused the streak for that season. Now, what is a sellout? People ask that. How can you have a sellout when I come to a game and I see empty seats? And that a sellout is every seat was sold. And whether the person who bought the ticket utilized that ticket or did not, and we do have, of course, some seats that are empty. People ask, well, why does that happen? And I say, well, look at it this way. If the Green Bay Packers sell a ticket to one of their games, you probably spent what, maybe $1,500 on that ticket. If you spend $1,500 on a ticket to a game, good chance you're going to use the ticket, right? Yeah, you're going to use that ticket if you spend $1,500 on it. Dragons tickets, you can get them for $10 to $20. So people do buy tickets as season ticket holders, and sometimes the seats do go unused. But our sellout streak is the longest in the history of sports in North America. Any sport, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, you see here the top 5 in sports history in terms of consecutive sold-out dates. We actually broke the record in 2011. At that time, the record was held by the Portland Trail Blazers, 814, and we hit number 815 that summer and kept it going pretty well. Now, how do we manage to entice fans to come to the games? And this slide here really tells the story. We are all about family entertainment. So you might be a big baseball fan like me. Gentlemen today, sir, I don't recall your name, wearing the Reds jersey. What is your first name?
Jonas.
Jonas, okay. I'm going to guess you were a pretty big Reds fan based on the fact that you wore a Reds jersey with Pete Rose on the back. And I am too. I'm a huge Reds fan too. I also have replica jerseys. And when I watch the Dragons play, it's enjoyable for me to realize that, of course, I travel with the team. I ride the team bus, so I know all the players like family. And so it's enjoyable for me to see them succeed and hopefully get a payoff for what they're working for on a daily basis and get to the major leagues, and they can enjoy it. Their family can enjoy it. Everybody who knows them can enjoy it. I'll do what a lot of fans do. I'll look at our players and say, our catcher, Alfredo Duno, he's got a chance to play in the major league someday. But a lot of fans, quite honestly, they don't take it quite that seriously. It means a lot to me that we, on Wednesday night, trailed 2-0 going to the 9th inning and scored 3 against the first place team and won that game with a walk-off win. Actually, if you were there that night, we had a bunt single to bring in the winning run with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th, beat the first place team, and knock our deficit from 4 games out to 3 games out. And last night we had no trouble beating them. We beat them 12-3 last night and knocked the deficit down to 2 games with 18 to play. So we feel like we've got a chance to catch them. But again, a lot of people don't take it quite that seriously as I do. It's just not as important in terms of wins and losses and who's going to play in the major leagues. And that's great, because that's not really what we need. We just want you to have an enjoyable night at the ball game. Whether you're cheering the team as passionately as I am or not, doesn't matter. You come to the game, it's all about family entertainment. So if you come to a ball game, the goal is you might go home that night and someone says, what'd you do last night? Oh, I went to a Dayton Dragons game. Really? Who won? I don't even know, but I still had a great time. That's kind of the goal. And this slide here, it tells the story. The You guys have heard me do this speech so many times, and I've talked about some of these things. I try to mix it up and add new things, but some of these things are just worth repeating. If you weren't here last year, don't remember, that middle bottom slide is my favorite event that we do during a game. It's called the toddler race. You can see the ages of the kids. They are out there to have their first career race on the field in the middle of the game. Baseball's perfect for this because every 7 minutes, three are roughly on average, some innings are longer, some innings are a lot longer, but on average, 7 minutes, 3 outs are recorded. The team that's batting goes out in the field. The team that's in the field comes into bat. The pitcher gets 8 warm-up pitches, and they put 2 minutes up on the clock. And that gives us 2 minutes to do something on the field that is going to be fun and entertaining for the fans in the audience who may not be big baseball fans. And the toddler race is one of them. While the pitcher's warming up, we actually bring 3 youngsters out of the audience, old enough to crawl, but maybe not old enough to walk. We set up a little track, them on one end, toddlers on the other. They crawl to mom. First one to reach mom wins. They will take the lead. You just have the Indy 500. And 3 will jump out in the lead. And sure enough, he'll lose track of what he's doing and start interacting with one of the other toddlers. And he'll forget about mom being at the other end, where something distracts him, shiny catches his eye. And the fans are going, no, you're going the wrong way. But eventually he'll figure it out, get to mom. He won't know why, but it'll get real loud in the ballpark. And someday his mom can explain to him, you got your first career standing ovation from 8,000 fans at a Dayton Dragons game for winning the toddler race. We just had one last night, and I looked out the kid, and it was a different contest, but you just see happy youngsters. Last night, right in front of me, I stood in the press box and called the game. About 5 rows in front of me last night, this kid gets a foul ball, and he just went into happy world for a minute. He had that ball in his hand. I looked at the smile on his face. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe the batter had just fouled the ball back, and he got a foul ball to take home with him that night. And I thought that is just the most amazing thing, how you can bring total happiness to a young fella's heart just by catching a ball that the bat fouled back off the field. But it happens. This is our trademark. We have the toddler race. You have our main mascots, lower left there, Heater and Jim, have been with us from the beginning. We just introduced a new one last year, lower right. That is called Blaze, and he's very popular. But all the other things we do on the field, sing-alongs, contests, skits, those are the things that make Dragons baseball really popular and known for what it has become as the years have gone by. There are several of them. I mentioned the toddler race, but the whole event itself, the goal is to establish that Disney style of feeling and atmosphere in the ballpark. A lot of our people actually did at one time work at Disney World. And that's the goal, is to establish that Disney feel. It's all about fun. Go home that night and you had an enjoyable evening. And another example might be, we have a person up in the press box each night. If you've been to a game, you know we have this huge $1 million video board out in left field. And we got a guy up in the press box who's got a laptop computer, and he's got a whole library of clips that he can play on the video board. And something might happen during the game that will jog his memory about what he's got on his computer, and maybe he'll play an appropriate movie clip. Let's say there's a close play at first base, and the umpire calls the batter out, and the call goes in favor of the Dragons. And the other team's head coach, baseball, it's a manager, he comes out to argue with the umpire about the call. And he's standing out there arguing the call. And our video board operator realizes, I got a perfect movie clip for this moment. And he pops it up on his laptop and he plays it on the video board. And it's the most famous quote in the history of baseball movies. The movie is a league of their own, which was the women's professional baseball team. Some of you are already ahead of me on this. You know what I'm going to say. You've heard me say it before, maybe. And as the other team's head coach is arguing with the umpire, he plays this quote from A League of Their Own, where the head coach of their team is Tom Hanks, and one of the players makes a mistake, and he starts berating the player, and she gets emotional and starts to tear up. And Tom Hanks takes a step back and looks at her like he can't believe what she's doing, and delivers this classic line that our video operator plays on the videos. There's no crying in baseball. Everybody laughs. And that's just something we do as the game goes along, night after night, season after season. It's all about trying to make the event fun, family entertainment for everyone in the audience. You won't see any off-color jokes. You won't see us. I see this in other ballparks, and I hate it when I see the video board or the public address announcer sort of make fun of a player on the other team. We don't do that at all. You can have a player on the opposing team maybe get hit by a pitch, let's say on the elbow, and he's just standing there just writhing in pain. It's going to go away in a couple of minutes, most likely, but he's hurting. And I'll see other teams, and they'll sort of play something about, they'll maybe play a sound effect of a baby crying, something like that. We don't do stuff like that in Dayton. We have sportsmanship for the opposition. You would see that. It's all about fun, family entertainment. That's Dragons baseball at its core. These are some of the players I mentioned, because there is certainly a baseball part of this as well. These are former Dragons players. I mentioned Joey Votto. Jay Bruce was a player for the Dragons in 2006 that had a long career with the Reds. Todd Frazier was one of my very favorites as far as personality. If you're a Reds fan, you'll know what I'm talking about. Just a unbelievable, everyday guy type of personality. And he knew you. If I saw Todd Frazier tomorrow, and he hasn't played for us since 2008, he would get a big smile on his face, and he'd say, "How's it going?" And I would say, "Todd, how you been?" And I see he's doing some broadcasting now, which is perfect for him. And then Ellie De La Cruz was our star player in 2022, and he's going to be with the Reds hopefully for a long time, but he's going to be coming into some serious contract negotiations at some point. He's going to make some millions upon millions as good a player as he is. We'll see if the Reds find a way to keep him. I hope they do. This is the climb I mentioned early in my speech. So how do we get our players? How do players ever wind up in Dayton? So the Reds have about 30 what we call amateur scouts. And their job is to find potential young talent. So each scout is assigned a territory to cover. And maybe his territory, for example, might be Ohio, Michigan, and Indiana. That's his territory. That would be a good example. There's someone, I don't know his name, but there is a Red Scout that would have that territory. So every day in the spring, he is going to be at Bowling Green, Kent State, Ohio State here, maybe University of Cincinnati, maybe Michigan State, Purdue, Notre Dame, one of those places every single day, or even a high school, because the Reds will draft high school players every year as well. He might be at a school in the area, Centerville High School. He might be at Beavercreek High School to watch a game if he thinks there's a player that potentially could be a future professional player. And then he'll file a report back to Cincinnati and give every single player a grade. And the Reds will take this giant database of scouting reports and sort them all through and rank each player all over the United States. Every scout does that. So you can imagine there's this enormous database of players. And then every July is the baseball draft. And the Reds get 20 selections. So they will draft 20 players, and those 20 players will be offered the chance to come and join the Cincinnati Reds farm system. Now, if you are drafted and signed by the Reds, you would be sent to start your career at what we call the rookie level. Out in Arizona, you see the Reds logo out there. And it's called the Arizona Complex League. They play at the spring training complexes. There's really no fans at the games. They're only maybe a few family members, and that's about it. They don't charge admission. They play the games on the spring training fields. And the players are just at this point gaining experience with professional baseball. If you do well there, you would move on up one level to single A and go to Daytona Beach. That team is called the Daytona Tortugas, Spanish for turtle. And you would play in Daytona for a year. And if you do well there, you would move up to the next level, which is called High A. And that is Dayton, Ohio, Dayton Dragons. So now we're halfway up the ladder. You've gone from Arizona to Daytona to Dayton. If you do well and go to Double A, and that Lookouts in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Lookouts is because of the fact that there's Lookout Mountain right there close by. And that's your next stop, Double A, Chattanooga, Tennessee. If you do well in Double A, you would go to Triple A. That is Louisville, Kentucky, the Louisville Bats. Named Bats because the bats are made right there at the Louisville Slugger Factory and Museum in Louisville. And that's your next stop. So you now every player doesn't have to go to every level, but his ability dictates how fast he moves up. So you've gone rookie level in Arizona, single A in Daytona, high A in Dayton, double A in Chattanooga, triple A in Louisville, and if you do well there, the Reds will consider calling you up to the major leagues. That's the route you would take as a player to go from the very beginning to the major leagues. Now, if you ask our players, they would say out loud, they would say, my goal is someday to be a major leaguer. But if you privately ask them, what are you really thinking about right now as far as a goal? So they would say two things. Number one, they would say, I just want to get better from day to day. But secondly, they would say, my goal really is to get to Chattanooga because that's the next stop. It's like you're climbing a ladder. Your goal is to get to the next step up the ladder. And that's where the next step would be. So every player is hoping he does well enough that he gets a call into the manager's office and the manager says, pack your bags, you're headed to Chattanooga, Tennessee. We've already had a couple of players do that this year already, a month and a half into our season. And we've moved up, I think we moved two players, as far as I can think, three players up to Chattanooga so far this year. So for every player that moves up, that means a player from the Daytona team is going to move from there to Dayton. So when we get a new player, he's always super happy to get there. He just achieved the goal of getting from Daytona to Dayton. So they're always in a great mood when they get to Dayton. Now, after they've been here for a year and they're convinced themselves and their dad's telling them, you need to be moved up to Chattanooga, they start to get a little restless sometimes. They're ready to go. And then when they finally get that call, they're happy. But Dayton's a great place to play. So the players will tell you oftentimes, many players have made this comment, my favorite place to play throughout the whole minor leagues was Dayton, Ohio, because there's no place like Dayton. There's no place like Dayton that on an April Tuesday night, you'll still see half the ballpark filled with fans when it's 40 degrees outside. The other places you might see 100 people on a 40-degree night on a Tuesday night in April. And we know every night it's a special experience. When we won that game Wednesday night, came back in the ninth inning, I mean, that ballpark went absolutely wild. You would have thought you were a World Series game. And for the players, that's an experience you just can't get anywhere else until you get to the major leagues. So it's super fun for the players. I'm going to get moving here and wrap this up. Any questions? How are we doing on time? Not too bad. Okay, we had a lot of ballpark improvements. Go to the first one here. This is our South Dayton Toyota Diamond Club. 5,000 square feet. It is located down on the suite level on the face side at the end, and you can see the view when you're inside. It's much larger than this picture would lead you to believe. Again, 5,000 square feet. You know how large that is. It'll hold 200 people. And you can see the field through the glass windows. It's a great place on a game night to attend a game, but also in the off season, this was really built to be a 365-day event for downtown. So you can have company meetings, you can have, we've got a wedding plan in there in the fall. We've got some holiday parties, great place to have a holiday party for a company, all these things. And this is something brand new addition. This is the first year it's been open. And again, it's a year-round event. And that's one thing I noticed minor league baseball is starting to become and realize is you've got 66 games a year, but you've got a lot more days if you could create a market for some space hospitality that you might utilize. This really fills a need. So season tickets are something that for Dragons baseball have really become popular as the years have gone by. Eric has season tickets. We are thankful that we've got a lot of people, and usually when I do a speech, there's almost always someone who will come to me and say, I've been a season ticket holder from the very beginning. When did you get your first season tickets?
Very beginning.
You did, yeah, you're one. One today. So there's usually someone in the room that'll tell me that. And we're thankful to you for staying with us. That is one thing about minor league baseball that I really appreciate in terms of the fans' loyalty is, you know, if you're Ohio State football, you know that if your quarterback is Justin Fields and he goes to the NFL, there's 4 other guys over there that can come in and do a great job. And from year to year, you're likely going to be in the hunt, certainly for a Big Ten title and maybe a national championship year to year. Once you build the program up, Ohio State, Alabama, a lot of those schools year to year, they are built up so well. The recruiting, I think, almost takes care of itself. Now we've got a new element there now, the money part of it, but it is a case where you know from year to year, oftentimes the powerhouse teams are going to be strong each year. Minor league baseball is the opposite in that it is almost impossible to have a run of years consecutively where you're at the top. And the reason is your best players are gone as soon as they show that they're good. They move up the ladder. South Stewart in 2024, and we went to the playoffs, and he was a great player for us. The next year, he's playing for the Reds. And we've got to have a whole new guy come in, a whole new team, basically moving up from the lower level. You don't know how they're going to do. So we went from a playoff team in 24. Most of those guys moved up, total rebuild. And last year we struggled for most of the year. And at the very end, we got together and had a winning streak of 15 games in a row at the very end last year. And that was great. But the whole season was a struggle because all of our good players were gone. And that's minor league baseball. And it's hard from year to year. So back to my point, I appreciate you guys, you and the folks staying with us because there's years where I'm the announcer for the team. It doesn't mean any more to anyone than it does me. And I have to announce, well, it's the 3rd inning tonight. We're trying to come back from an 8-0 deficit. There's years like that. But this year, fortunately, it's been a fun one so far. Like I say, we're 2 games out of first. We're in 2nd place out of 6 teams in our division. I think we're 6 games above the 500 mark right now. I think something like, what are we, 26-20, maybe something like that. So that's part of it. And yet the Dayton fans have stayed with us and stayed loyal through thick and thin with the years where we've had star players like Billy Hamilton and Todd Frazier, but also years where we struggled. Even those struggling years, quite honestly, folks, there are still some future major leaguers. Every single year has had multiple future major leaguers. So when you come to a game, someone on that field that night is going to be a major leaguer someday. There's never been a season was even close to not having anyone. In fact, every single opening day, someone on that field, and we've had 26 of them now, went on to play in the major leagues. Average per team is about 7 major leaguers on the field in Dayton, average. So I think we've had 159 or so over our history. And that's over 2020, we're on our 26th year. Some of them get there quick. Last April, we had Chase Burns as our opening day starter. If you're a Reds fan, you know that name. Chase Burns is now the ace of the Reds. In 2025, he was the ace of the Dragons. In 2026, he's the ace of the Reds. So that's the way things go sometimes. Sometimes they get there quickly. So that's pretty much what I have to say today. I'll take any questions that anybody might have and answer any questions and address anything that I didn't touch on or something I touched on you'd like to hear explain better. Yes, sir.
Tom, you said that they do recruit high school. That in reality, how many high school kids get drafted?
I would say, some organizations are more prone to go the college route than others. The Reds are probably in the middle. I would say on an average year, out of their 20 picks, maybe 4 would be high school players out of 20. And the other 16 would be either college or junior college. They also draft junior college players. If you're a high school pick, chances are, if you were drafted, there's a good chance you probably were a first round pick. And the reason for that is if you're, let's say you're a absolute high school star, and if you're a first round pick, they're going to offer you several $1 million to sign. But you get down later in the draft, let's say you're a 10th round pick, might be 100,000, 150,000. So in that case, the player may say, well, I'm just better off to go on to college and I'll be drafted again in a few years and I'll get that $1 million. So it's almost like you got to be among the very best or you're going to go on to college. That's the way it works generally. Okay. Yes, sir.
There's a guy called Adam Dunn.
Adam Dunn.
I used to work there.
Yes, sir. Adam Dunn is still hanging around. He lives, I think, in Texas. Adam Dunn, you're back.
I used to.
So did I. Yeah. Well, Adam Dunn was on the very first Dragons team in the year. He was a power hitter and played the very first game ever played at our ballpark. And went on, had a long career with the Reds. He retired probably I'd say it's been 10 years. And when he retired, he was in the top 50 in baseball history in career home runs. You remember Adam Dunn was a big burly hitter, could hit the ball 500 feet. And that was a star player on that very first Dragons. People would probably look back at that team when it was going on and say, I'll bet you this guy makes it. And if you said that, you were right. He made it. I saw a hand up over here somewhere. Okay.
Green came in out of high school.
He did. Hunter Green out of high school.
The kid out of what, Springboro? Did he play for the Mets?
Okay.
Yeah, he came out of Springboro High School years ago. He's starting for the Mets.
You got me on that. There have been any state players, but we have not had. Now we've had in our history one Montgomery County player in our history. It was a kid named Dan Jensen from Centerville High School, and then he went on to Sinclair and then University of Cincinnati. And the Reds drafted him out of University of Cincinnati. And he's the only one. And you might say, well, why would that be? Because the way the draft works, there's no real regional loyalty. The Reds are taking 20 players, and again, their scouting reports are from all over the United States. I wish as the draft got to, round 17, 18, 19, 20, I'd like to see them maybe, take a chance on a local player, but they really haven't done that. Again, we've had one. There was another player from Bellbrook that Reds did have in their system, but he never made it to us. He got knocked out. In essence, he didn't progress to our level. I'm trying to remember his last name, but he was from Bellbrook. But we've had one Dragons player from Montgomery County or Greene County or anywhere in the general area. Yes, ma'am.
So I don't know much about sports, but I've seen like YouTube videos about the Savannah Bananas.
Yes,
So like, what are the players are more the entertainment there too,
Right.
right? So what do the other players think about that? Are they like a mockery of baseball? Like,
well, yeah, somebody said it, that team is the baseball version of the Harlem Globetrotters. So they play the games with much looser rules. And for example, if a ball gets popped up into the stands and a fan catches the ball, the batter's out. It's just oh, if you've ever seen the Globetrotters, it's similar in that the rules are relaxed. And they're not trying to develop future major league players. They're just 100% there for entertainment value. And so they try to get, just like the Globetrotters did, skilled players, but they're not on the level of what we would have a day or ballpark in Dayton. And they're there to 100%. We would say that our goal from our ticket selling standpoint is focused on family entertainment, but at the same time, we're in partnership with the Cincinnati Reds. Their goal is 100% baseball. So their part of the deal is to generate future Reds players 100%. They don't care how much we do to entertain the fans. They're a partner in it. So there's no Major League Baseball partner to the Savannah Bananas. They're just strictly 100% entertainment. Yes, Eric.
How often do the Reds have a player, say maybe a pitcher, that they say he's going to pitch 4 innings every 5 days, even though he's really terrible because we want to check?
How often does that happen?
How often does that happen?
All the time. Todd Vincent was our manager in 2009 and 2010. He told me that at the beginning of the season, he gets 2 lists, the Reds, as a Dragons manager. He gets 2 lists. One is the list of the players on the team. And the second list are what we call the pretty guys. It doesn't matter how much he might be struggling, he is going to play because the Reds have invested time, money, and maybe a draft pick in him. And they're going to let him show that he can make it or not make it. And no one's going to move him out of the lineup. I used to know a player years ago, and he was like a real late round draft pick. In those days, the draft was 50 rounds. He was like a 40th round draft pick. And he said, if you're a 40th round draft pick in the minor leagues, you've got to prove that you can play. If you're a first round draft pick in the major leagues, you've got to prove you can't play. That's the way they look at them. So that's the answer to your question. We've got guys all the time. Believe me, it's a broadcaster for the team. Sometimes they'll drive me crazy. We'll have a lead, the 9th inning, and I'll look down at the bullpen and I'll see a guy walk up and I'll just shake my head and go, anybody but him, we're going to lead in the 9th inning. But they designated that player, identified him as a guy that they feel like probably because he has what we call baseball tools. In other words, maybe he can throw the ball 98 miles an hour, but maybe when the ball leaves his hand at 98 miles an hour, he has absolutely no idea where it's going. And so they will try to get that kid because he's got something you can't teach. And that is the ability to throw the ball 98 miles. If you look at the bottom part of our roster, when I say bottom part, the weaker half of our roster, you will see a collection of players with tools and not polish. Another college team, and in college, the coach may not have even used him all that much, but he's got tremendous as a pitcher. Maybe he's got the best fastball. I did some Miami baseball this spring. They might have had a kid on the team that, again, enormous velocity on the fastball, but just couldn't get anybody out because he can't throw the ball to the plate. In a college game, he's never going to get used. In a minor league game, he's going to get used as much as anybody until he just proves he absolutely is detriment to the team because they want to see, can we develop this kid into a future major leaguer? He's got the one thing you can't coach, and that is skills, but he's got to get the polish. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Being a baseball guy, how's the entire farm system of the Reds?
Right now,
Yeah.
It's down a little from where it was 2 or 3 years ago because a lot of those guys made it to the major leagues, and so it's kind of a restocking right now. Um, the number one prospect in the Red system right now is with us. Our catcher, Alfredo Duno, he can hit the ball 100 miles. I mean, he can hit it halfway to the moon, and he's got to improve on defense more than anything. If he comes to a game, you might say that kid can't catch. He's a catcher. Position not to be able to catch. And he's just got to improve on his receiving skills. He's got a cannon for an arm, but he doesn't have the footwork and the balance to really be able to consistently make accurate throws on stolen bases. And his receiving skills are poor. But he's 20 years old, and he's got amazing raw power. He had a ball the last homestand that was to the left of the scoreboard, but it would have gone over the Dragon's Head. If you come to a game, you know where a scoreboard is. There's a Dragon's Head, the top of the scoreboard. It would have gone over that Dragon's Head. So this guy can hit balls like nobody's ever seen before. And it's just a matter of developing his overall game into a quality player. I'm not convinced he's going to be able to stay at the catcher position, and he may have to move to first base. He's like 245 pounds. You don't see a lot of catchers at that size. He might have to move to first base eventually. Overall farm system, though, probably right now I would say most scouts would rate it sort of in the middle of the major leagues, and that is again because of the high number of players who have just moved up out of the farm system to the major leagues. We just had one. If you're a Reds fan, they had a player. You'd have to know this name. You probably have to follow the team fairly closely. Some of you won't know this name. We had a Dragons player a few years back named Reese Hines, and Reese Hines was in Louisville. He was absolutely just destroying the pitching in that league. And the Reds moved him up, and it was exciting. And he got to the majors, and he just couldn't do it. The difference between AAA competition and Major League competition. And then eventually, after maybe, I'd say 3 weeks of just watching him strikeout after strikeout, they eventually just cut ties with him. He's gone now. That was just, a couple of weeks ago. So that happens. You never know until they get, my point is, until they actually get there, they're still just prospects. You just don't know what they're going to do until they actually get to the major leagues and prove it on the field. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Since you go back so many years, there's a guy who was responsible for bringing dragons to Dayton.
Yes.
Tony something.
Yes. Well, he had a lot to do with it. I'd say the person that was most responsible was the one that bought the ownership of the team, because that was he had a lot to do with the stadium being built. Yes, which was basically almost an automatic trigger for the team coming. Once you had a great stadium, somebody was going to move a team here.
Right.
So that was probably the most important step. I won't say probably, that was the most important step. But then, and so you actually had a team. So what you had to do, there's no expansion of the minor leagues. You can't just start a new team. Every major league team has a set number of minor league farm clubs. So what they had to do was they had to find an existing team that they could relocate. So they bought the Rockford, Illinois team in the Midwest League and moved it to Dayton, and it became the Dayton Dragons.
Yeah.
So that team had an owner and moved the team here. All right. Okay. Anything else? Tony Kavitsky was the guy. Yeah. He was the judge. A long-time judge, good guy, met him several times, deserves a lot of credit, really spearheaded the whole idea. And that's what it takes sometimes, is one person pushing it forward. And again, I don't want to take anything away from him, because that was clearly the most important step, was getting the stadium built. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We had Tom sign this book before we get started. And Beth is the one that picked out this book.
It's a good book.
And
You good? Dan, you gonna take a picture or somebody? You wanna get a picture?
Okay. Right here.
Yeah.
On the banner.
Yeah. Go ahead and talk. Are you allowed to? Steven, can you talk? Let's hear you.
Hello?
Oh, there we go. Okay, can everybody hear now?
Do someone for us.
Talk a little louder, Steven.
Buenos dias.
Thanks, Tom.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for having me, everybody.
Can you hear us?
No.
Hello?
You're not the big group.
Bueller?
I hear you, but the big group doesn't hear you. So hold on just a second.
We've got some friends down in South America. Do you know two of the three of them? Centralized. I didn't know all this. I wanted to talk to her and say,
Ah, ready to talk. I don't.
Can you hear
it's
us?
not coming over the loudspeaker.
into the
Okay.
microphone, let's microphone onto the speaker. So we have it on Bluetooth? No, yeah.
Yeah, that's a thought. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the Bluetooth is on, but I bet it's connected to this microphone. Okay, sure. All right, go ahead, guys.
Buenos dias from
Can you hear it?
San Pedro Sulas. Can you hear us?
Yeah, just turn it up a little bit.
Okay.
I'm gonna turn up the volume some more.
All
Hold
right.
on.
So hello. Buenos dias. I'd like to introduce Haley Alvarado. She's an attorney here in San Pedro Sula who is working with Global Water Consortium to set up an NGO, well, subsidiary of them to be working. I don't know, Stephen, if you want to talk a little bit about what some of the communities and travels that we've done and water testing that's been involved in 3 different communities. We've met with the mayors of all of the communities, tested water at the sources, went into the homes of the mayor and some of the residents to test the water there. So met some of the children in the villages.
Yeah, it's been amazing. So yeah, first of all, still alive. So
Probably.
Dave, I'm taking care of Beth, but really Beth is taking care of me. So it's been a great trip. As Beth mentioned, we've been in 3 communities. So Florida, Zacapa, and Corking. And every day has been a 12, 14-hour day. This is actually our first day of we didn't have to leave the hotel. So all of the water we've tested is now going to a lab to get tested, and looking forward to getting those results. But it's been an amazing trip so far, and we just wanted to make sure everyone knew we were still alive.
And Kaylee is current president of a Rotaract club here. And in addition, we've met with 3 other Rotarians throughout the trip. So there's been a lot of connections with Rotary down here in Honduras.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you guys. Can you hear us? Are we frozen? Did you hear any of that?
Yeah, we.
See y'all.
All right, love you. Bye.
I've got it.
Sorry.
I'm glad you can arrange it. Where are they? That we can arrange it. Do anything else to be brought up to me today? Yeah. That was nice they could get together, and on Zoom, say hi. Y'all rise to the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of America, to the Father, stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Guys have a good week. I get all 10 Bibles, all 5 videos. Yeah, sorry about